The Defenders is not only the newest Marvel Netflix show, but this is the big crossover. Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage and Iron Fist coming together at last to kick some ass. Now I was very excited for The Defenders. Despite my disappointment with Iron Fist, it did not stop me looking forward to the show, and I've just finished binge watching all 8 episodes the last 8 hours of today. I've just been watching The Defenders, and what do I think of the show? I thought it was awesome. There were so many satisfying moments in the show, but the biggest satisfying thing was seeing these 4 characters come together: Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage and Iron Fist, because they've all been developed through their own shows, Daredevil in 2 seasons, and just seeing them finally come together, share the screen and also kick ass, like I said, it was just so satisfying and so awesome. The fight scenes in this show, I'll get to the fight scenes later, but just seeing these 4 characters just simply share the screen was awesome just for me to see, because in the other Netflix shows I've been wondering, I wonder what Matt Murdock's doing right now, I wonder what Jessica Jones is doing right now, because theoretically you could walk around the corner and there they are, but obviously they didn't do that because they were the individual shows and all that stuff. But here, seeing them share the screen with each other was just awesome to just see. And the 4 of them work really well together. In fact, some of the interplay they have was actually quite funny, and that's the thing, this show has some quite good humour actually in The Defenders. It's not like, Guardians of the Galaxy where they're going for the joke every 5 minutes or anything. I'm just saying, some of the times when like Daredevil's talking with Jessica Jones, or Jessica Jones and Luke Cage are hearing about all the mystical stuff to do with the hand and their reactions to it, it was actually quite funny. But let's go back to those fight scenes, because when the Defenders beat the living hell out of a room full of guys, it is just pure awesomeness, smiles from ear to ear. So again, satisfying and awesome, those are the 2 words that I can use to describe the Defenders. And just like in Daredevil, the fight scenes are also very well edited and really well choreographed. Let's talk about the story and the characters. For the first half, I'd say the Defenders was actually quite an engaging mystery, and for the first couple of episodes I was really into the mystery. I found it really engaging, like I just said. Jessica Jones is following her leads because she's a private investigator, and Luke Cage is following his leads because he wants to do a favour for a family in Harlem, and Iron Fist is following his stuff because he and Colleen Wing are still trying to take out the hand from the end of Iron Fist season 1. And Matt Murdock isn't really following any leads. In fact, he's the only one who doesn't really have anything to do with the main story for the first couple of episodes, because he's having this identity crisis about, does he want to be Daredevil or does he want to be Matt Murdock, kind of like Peter Parker in Spider-Man 2. The characters following their own storylines and eventually meeting each other in episode 3, it was really satisfying, and I'm glad they didn't just give us the Defenders right out the gate in episode 1. They actually develop the characters a little further, and when they come together it makes it all the more satisfying. And they do the thing where when they meet each other they don't really trust each other, which is a very safe and predictable thing to do in a crossover team up thing, but it does help it make it more believable, because when these characters meet each other, just with their personalities and their way of doing things, they wouldn't trust each other, so it was realistic in that sense. The Defenders is not quite a perfect show though. I do have a couple of flaws, one of them being Sigourney Weaver as the main villain. She was good in the show and her character was not what I thought she was going to be, but she just doesn't really have very much to do. She spends pretty much the entire time sitting and walking around and explaining the hand and what they do, and she just doesn't really have a lot really to sink her teeth into, and that kind of disappointed me because it's Sigourney Weaver. When I heard she was going to be the main villain in The Defenders, I was like, oh my god, this is going to be so badass and awesome, and she was just she was okay. But as far as her character arc goes, it actually doesn't go in the direction that I thought it was going to. It unfolds in a different way, so I can't really say The Defenders was a predictable show. It went in some different directions that I wasn't expecting, so that's always a big plus. In the first episode especially, there was some exposition. Like, the first episode is the exposition episode, like seeing what the heroes have been doing since the last seasons, and explaining the villain and what's going on with her. And there's some exposition in some later episodes where I'm just like, yeah, that's just straight up exposition telling us what we need to know. There are some things in the show in terms of some elements and some story arcs where you're like, yeah, I've seen that in quite a few things before, especially Elektra's story arc. I don't think that's a spoiler saying she's in the show. No, it's not a spoiler, but the thing that she does in the show, her story arc, you're gonna watch that and you're gonna be like, yeah, I've seen exactly this quite a few times in quite a few different things. But that's really it as far as my flaws goes, because overall I enjoyed the hell out of The Defenders. 8 hours just flew by, it never dragged, and the decision to make it 8 episodes instead of 13 was a great decision on Netflix's part, because of the other shows you could feel like they ran out of steam by episode 11 or 12 or 10, but in this show, 8 episodes, it did not feel too long, it didn't feel too short, it was just right. The pacing pacing was really good as far as the storylines and, you know, developing them and developing the characters. It was so great seeing the characters come together and kick some ass finally, and all the actors still do good jobs in their roles. Like I've already said a million times during this video, The Defenders for me was awesome. It was satisfying. It was very well made. The cinematography, the direction was all on point. It was well acted. The story was interesting. The villainous aspect of the show could have been a little bit better, but overall I finished The Defenders with a big smile on my face. All the Netflix shows have built up to this. They develop the characters, and The Defenders further develops the characters in an action-packed show that I just love the hell out of from start to finish. I'm going to give The Defenders a 4.5 out of 5. So there we have it. The Defenders has come and it's gone, and I loved it. But more importantly, I want to know, what did you think of The Defenders? Whatever your thoughts are, tell me in the comments below. And if you want to see more of my stuff, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video.